In our last tutorial, we started our Holter ECG analysis using full disclosure. Now that we've completed the basic preparation of the recording, it's time to move on to morphology. Depending on the recording and the way you like to work, you might prefer to skip this step and move straight to event editing or ECG scanning. But let's check out morphology. So what is it, and why is it useful? Morphology is all about comparing the shapes of the ECG beats. Some people call it template editing or forms, but we call it morphology. Pathfinder's algorithm has already run through all the beats in the recording, and based upon their specific shapes, has classified them into different groups. These groups are shown in the default tabs at the top here: ventricular, normal, supraventricular, unclassified, artifact, paste, and removed. Of course, we've also done a little of this work ourselves when we were cleaning up the recording in full disclosure. Remember those beats we artifacted? They will already have been moved into the artifact group. The reason the morphology is so useful is that rather than checking each beat one by one, Pathfinder has helpfully grouped them together by shape, so we can deal with hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of them with a single click. Now that's going to save us some serious time in our analysis. So let's take a look. Under each tab, in this case the normal tab, we have these separate forms. Each form represents a certain type of morphology or beat shape within the normal category. All a little different, but all still considered normal by Pathfinder. So you can see here we have form 38. In form 38 you have 56,610 normal beats of this shape type. And you'll see below we've got 1 of 56,610, 2 of 56,610, 3, etc. Now you can go one by one through each of these beats and check them individually, but that's going to take you a lot of time. However, fortunately, Pathfinder has a function here called Overlay Beats. If you select Overlay Beats, that's going to stack every beat within this form, one on top of the other. So in this case, it's going to overlay 56,610 beats, one on top of the other, and display them here in this window. So what are you looking for? Well, you'll notice our R wave is nice and clean. 56,000 R waves, one on top of the other, and you can see it's quite clean. If there was anything which didn't belong in this group, something like artifacts or PVC, you would see a shadow of that outside of this R wave, showing you that there's a beat in there that doesn't belong. But because you see this nice clean R wave, you know there are no errors in classification, and you don't have to go searching through 56,000 beats. After you've confirmed that you have a nice clean R wave, you can continue with the next form. There are 24,000 in this form. You look at your overlay, it looks nice and clean, and you proceed form by form throughout the scan. If two of your form shapes look very similar, you can combine them into one form by clicking and holding the mouse button, and then hovering one form over another. If you think they belong in the same form, then you can let go, and it will combine the two groups into one and overlay them all. Finally, you get to your last form, and you can see the big N here. This is called the generic form. This form contains what Pathfinder considers normal beats, but they're all normal in different ways. So basically, this form contains uniquely shaped normal beats, which Pathfinder can't group into any other form. Let's do a little pretending, just as an example. and pretend we find a few which don't belong in this normal category. So let's pretend that this one was wrongly classified and it's actually a ventricular beat, and you'd like to move it to the ventricular group. You click on it, and if you look, we have 131 beats in the generic bin. And I come up and I hit V for ventricular. That's going to take it out of the normal beats, where there are now 130, and place it into our ventricular bin. If you'd like to artifact some of these, you can select I for inhibit or artifact. If you have large groups of these, you can hold down the control button on your keyboard and click to make multiple selections. You can see them highlighted here, and you can select I for artifact, and they'll all move in one go. Once you've sorted out the normal beats, then you can go through the other tabs and follow the same workflow, just to make sure that all of them are in the right groups. It's actually similar to how we reclassified beats in Full Disclosure, but rather than having to search through the whole scan and reclassifying one at a time, in Morphology you can deal with them in groups much more quickly. Just to let you know, the Unclassified tab at the top here shows all the beats for which a trigger has been detected, but which Pathfinder has been unable to identify with any group. If any of these beats are found, then you'll need to look through them and reclassify them into the correct group. So, once the beats have been classified correctly, how can you check for any potentially dangerous arrhythmias and start to tell an accurate story of the patient's recording? In our next tutorial, we'll take a look at event editing. Bye for now.